Hey y'all. Hey. I told y'all I had somebody special for you. So again, you may be on the title of this video is, are you on the verge of filing bankruptcy? So before we even get started, y'all, I want you to share this video. It may not be you that may be on the verge. It may be your cousin, your auntie, your friend, and somebody that you know. This video is gonna help you. It's gonna help you answer those questions. Hey y'all, what's going on? What's going on? Hey Kenya Benya, what's up? All right, y'all, I want you to share this video, share this video. And if you can hear me, I want you to comment, let's go. Let's go. If you can hear me, type in let's go. Whether you're watching a replay or you're watching it live, I want you to comment let's go. Hey mom, what's up? Hey, what's up? Share this video. So I've been pubbing this all week because, again, being a credit repair company, you know, we do see people who are in situations where we cannot help them. And so in this case, I wanted to make sure that I bring a professional to our live, just so that you can get advice from somebody that knows a great deal of information in regards to bankruptcies. But if you're tuning in for the first time, I want to introduce who I am, just so you can know. I am Lavera Coleman of Coleman Financials. I'm the owner of Coleman Financials Credit Repair. I have talked and helped hundreds and hundreds of people improve their credit scores and their lives. When I change your credit score, I change your life, y'all. So I get excited about that, and any opportunity that I can bring somebody alongside to help me do that, I'm gonna do just that. So share this video, and if you can hear me, let's go. Type in the comments, let's go. All right, so I'm gonna add. Before I bring him on, I'm gonna tell you some things about Jamal. Jamal is awesome. He and I have been working together. He has over 12 years worth of experience in this industry, so he know what he's talking about. And then also, he has a heart of gold, y'all. When it comes down to helping people get out of debt, that is what he loves to do. And I feel it each and every time when we work together in regards to a client. I feel it. And so again, I only bring people on my team, and I work with people who are just as passionate as I am about helping people. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring my guy, Jamal. He is attorney. Oh, matter of fact, let me get that right, y'all. Attorney Jamal Walker. And we're gonna ask him some questions. So if you got some questions that you don't hear on the video, type them below, and we'll do our best to try to get them answered for you, okay? All right, y'all. So, number one, Jamal.
Yes.
A lot of times people come to us and they don't even know what bankruptcy is. So, could you tell us, what is bankruptcy?
So I'm gonna tell you what bankruptcy isn't first. Bankruptcy isn't when a person is completely broke. Like most people think, that's a misconception that you file bankruptcy because you don't have any money. No, you file bankruptcy because you want to either reorganize your debts, or your debts are too much to pay, and you want to discharge those debts. And what discharge means is wipe them out, zero them out.
Okay, so that doesn't mean, so you're saying that when you're filing bankruptcy, you're just having to pretty much start over, but it's not like a thing where you just file it as many times as you want to. But in some cases, I'm sure it's we're gonna talk about when to file bankruptcy. So, all right, so a recap. He just said that bankruptcy is, let's say it one more time.
Bankruptcy is the reorganization or the discharge of certain debts.
Okay, so it's a reorganization. All right. So also, when should you file bankruptcy? Would you say when's the right time so that people can identify? Because I do see people prematurely filing bankruptcy. When is the time to file bankruptcy?
Well, you have different types of bankruptcy, but it depends on what your situation is. Basically, you want to file bankruptcy if your debt is just too much for you to bear, if you can't keep up with the payments, if you can't pay your regular bills, like your light bill, water bill, things of that nature, and you have credit card debt, medical bills, or things of that nature that's interfering with you being able to pay your ordinary expenses. So when it comes time to choose between your ordinary expenses and those debts like credit card bills or loans or things like that, you have to choose to let those things go, and bankruptcy helps with that process.
Okay, so bankruptcy helps in the process. Now, are there different types of bankruptcies? Like, I know some people are like, is there just only one? Like, what are the types of bankruptcies? What choices do they have when they are filing bankruptcy?
Well, the most common forms of bankruptcy that people are probably familiar with or have heard of are Chapter 7 bankruptcy, Chapter 13 bankruptcy. You also have Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which involves businesses, but most consumers, most regular people like you or I would file a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13.
Okay. Now, is there a difference? Like, let's say, for instance, they're trying to be evicted or something, where they're trying to start something, like stop something immediate. Would they file something different? Like, would they file a Chapter 7 over a Chapter 13? Like, how does that work?
Okay, so I'll explain the difference between the 7 and the 13. A Chapter 7 is what I like to call a fresh start bankruptcy. That's when you want to get rid of the debt altogether. You can't really use a Chapter 7 if you have a car that you are behind on and you want to keep, or if your house is facing foreclosure, you would want to do a Chapter 13 in that case. So a Chapter 7 is usually for unsecured debts, which are debts that's not attached to property. That's what an unsecured debt is. So, for example, there could be credit card debts, there could be personal loans, the online loans you see, medical bills, things of that nature. A Chapter 13 will be filed if you are behind on your car note and it's about to get repossessed and you want to keep that car. You would have to file a Chapter 13. And I'll get into the nuances of each one shortly, but just to give you a general definition, or if you're facing foreclosure, you want to file a Chapter 13 because you've gotten so far behind on your debts. And also, if you don't qualify for a Chapter 7 financially, then you can file a Chapter 13. You can still file bankruptcy, but it would have to be a 13 if your income is too high, because it's median guidelines for a Chapter 7. You have to be, it depends on your household size as well as your gross income.
Got it. So what he just said, y'all, is Chapter 7 is for unsecured debt, okay? That just means the credit card debt, if you're behind on your credit cards, nothing associated with like something that you're trying to keep, like your car note, your car, or like a mortgage or something like that. It is based off of unsecured debt. So just remember that Chapter 7, he said, is a fresh start, where you're just trying to release the debt completely. And one of them, you said the Chapter 7 is based off of their income, correct? Not everybody's able to be qualified for a Chapter 7.
Right, like you can't be making $50,000 a year and be the only person in the household and file a Chapter 7.
Right.
And you can get with an attorney to find out what those guidelines are, something called a means test that we go by to see. And also you can, say for instance, you have a car that you can no longer afford to pay for and you don't want to keep that car, and you qualify for a Chapter 7, you can include that car in a Chapter 7, but you would surrender it. And so you wouldn't be responsible for paying the car off at that point if you surrender it in a Chapter 7.
That's some good stuff.
Same thing with a house too, if you just can't afford to make the payments. But if you want to keep it, you're going to have to file a 13. And also, if you have a house that's paid off, and you have a lot of assets or equity in your home, you would probably look into filing a 13 too, because the trustee, which is the person who is over your case while you're in bankruptcy, they will make sure that you don't have any debts that they could sell in order to pay off your creditors. So if you want to file a Chapter 7 and you have a house that's paid off, or you have more than $10,000 in assets, you may want to look at doing a 13, because they'll sell your house if you got more than a certain amount of equity in it. So you, like I said, that's something you want to talk to an attorney about.
I hope y'all writing some stuff down, y'all, because this is some good information. I'm telling y'all, have your pens and paper ready while you got an expert. Jamal has taken time out of his day to be here so that we can deliver this information to you. So get it while you can. Ask your questions while you can, because there are people who truly care about you. And that's the reason why he's here. His passion and what he's doing is why he is here. So get your pen, paper, and ask your questions while you can. All right, so.
Comment questions.
All right, so let's see. We got a question. If filing for bankruptcy, how long does it take to get discharged?
Okay, is that?
She said if,
Daisha.
Daisha.
Miss Willie. So it depends on what chapter you file. So usually, typically, chapter 7, you would start from finish. It would take 3 to 4 months to get a discharge from start to finish. If you are filing in chapter 13, you will either choose a 3-year plan or a 5-year plan. And depending on which plan you choose, it would either be 3 years before you're discharged or 5 years. And in order to be discharged, you have to complete everything in your bankruptcy successfully. There's certain things you have to do while you're in bankruptcy, and it's not complicated, but and it depends on which chapter you file. But yeah, because your case can be dismissed if you don't make your plan payments if you're in the 13, and I'll talk about that in a minute. The things you have to do in the 7 versus the 13. But in the chapter 7, 3 to 4 months, you're done. You're discharged. Your debts are down to 0. You don't have to pay them anymore. Chapter 13, it could be 3 to 5 years.
Got it. I hope that answered your questions, Ms. Wheatley. I got another question here. It says someone else. Let's see what else. No, I think if you have a question, make sure you. Okay, hope. So, is there hope after bankruptcy? They need to know, like, what does life look like outside of bankruptcy? Can they turn things around after bankruptcy?
It's definitely life after bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is a very useful tool if you use it at the right time. If you're planning on pretty much starting over and learn from the things that got you in bankruptcy, then bankruptcy is a very great tool. You can get a car after bankruptcy, you can get a house after bankruptcy, you can get more credit cards if that's something you want to do. A lot of people that file bankruptcy after not being able to use credit cards while they're in bankruptcy learn how to live without credit cards, and that's a great thing. So bankruptcy doesn't stop anything. In about 2 years, you will be able to get a house with no problem, depending on the lender. You will be able to get a car if you wanted to get a new car while you are in bankruptcy. You'll start getting credit card offers while you are actually in bankruptcy. And a lot of times I try to steer clients away from doing the 13. Say, for instance, if they're filing a bankruptcy because they don't want to get their car repossessed, but they have a car that's worth $10,000 that they're paying $30,000 for. Their car is upside down, underwater, and it's not in your best interest to keep that car. So what you want to do is think about filing Chapter 7 and trying to find you another car. That way you can let that car go, like I talked about earlier, without having to worry about paying that $30,000 and find something more so in your price range that you can afford, and then you'll be done in 3 or 4 months. And not have to worry about paying for a car that's way too expensive over 3 to 5 years. That's probably gonna break down before you get done.
Right, you heard them, Brittany. I hope that you're taking some good notes, because life outside of bankruptcy, it definitely is. I've seen so many people file bankruptcy and then they're able, to bounce back. But I do see people who file bankruptcy who again goes back and file bankruptcy again. So definitely just make sure that when you do file bankruptcy, that you learn from it and you recover. Let me see what other questions we got.
Over here that says,
all right,
how many times can you file bankruptcy?
Okay, there is no certain limit.
Chapter 7, I think she said.
Chapter 7?
Yeah.
So it depends on if you are successful in the Chapter 7. If you are discharged from the Chapter 7, and I mentioned discharge earlier is when you complete it successfully and your debts are discharged, you have to wait 8 years from the filing of the first bankruptcy before you can file another Chapter 7. You can file as many times as you want, but like I said, with a Chapter 7, in order to get the benefits of a Chapter 7, you would need to wait 8 years, but you can file every 8 years if you want to. With a Chapter 7, same thing with a 13, you can file multiple times, but it's a little more complicated when you file multiple times, because you may or may not have the protection of the bankruptcy, which is called the state, when you file multiple times. So you have to be careful and speak to your attorney about that.
So tell me this, Jamal, like, why when some people file bankruptcy, whether they go through with it or not, why is it still on their credit report? Like, can you tell us that?
It's just something that's reported to the credit report, and it is to the credit bureau, and it is a negative item. So each time you file, it's going to be on your bankruptcy. If you file in January and you get dismissed in March, you're going to file again, and it's still going to be on there. So each time you file, it's going to show up on your credit report, and it'll be listed as a negative item.
Let's see what other questions we have. Is there a difference between the impact on your credit filing 13 versus a 7?
I would say, as far as the bureaus are reporting, probably not, and that may be a better question for Miss Coleman. She's the credit report expert, and I was gonna say, as far as life after bankruptcy, a useful tool after filing bankruptcy would be to get your credit repaired. I always advise my clients after bankruptcy to seek a credit repair person. That way they can get those remaining negative items off your credit, because your score actually, believe it or not, will probably go up by filing bankruptcy. A lot of people think the opposite, but that actually helps your score because you have what's called a debt to income ratio. Say for instance, you have $30,000 worth of debt showing on your credit report. Of course, that's taking a negative hit. Then you're late, that's negative as well. So you may have a 500, 400 credit score, but once you file bankruptcy, that 30,000 debt, if it's discharged, goes to zero, and that helps the debt to income ratio, and that's one of the factors that makes the scores increase as well. And then those negative items will be shown discharged in bankruptcy.
Now, life outside of bankruptcy, y'all, is I've seen people come straight out of bankruptcy, and like he said, they have experience. Their credit scores jump, and then of course they need to know what life looks like for you outside of bankruptcy. If all they see is negative items and you haven't started rebuilding, then that's what they're going by. You have to start rebuilding, and that's what we assist you with. Now let's talk about, let's see if anybody else says, what's the best advice for a person that may be facing eviction? Like, how does bankruptcy help them?
Okay, so if you are facing eviction, it depends on the point that you choose to file bankruptcy. So the way a eviction bankruptcy would work is you would file a Chapter 13, I'm sorry. That's the repayment plan bankruptcy. And so you may be behind 2 or 3 months. That means you have X amount of dollars that you're behind on your bankruptcy. You will put those back payments in, and then after you put those back payments in there, you have to keep making your ongoing payments. So say for instance, you're behind June, July, and August. You still have to make your September rent directly to the landlord, but those payments come out over the length of the bankruptcy plan, those June, July, and August payments. So they can keep you in the house. Now that won't make them renew your lease. So keep that in mind, because that's an option at the end of the lease. They may or may not renew your lease, so keep that in mind as well.
Wow, that's some good stuff, y'all. Now, if this information is blessing anybody, make sure you tag your folks. Like, I want to see some people tag your people, your friends, your family. Tag a couple of people. You have no idea how this information may be helping someone else. Definitely tag and share this video. All right, can you have a bankruptcy and then later buy a house? How long till they can actually purchase a home after bankruptcy?
Well, like I said, it depends on the lender, but the typical and average time, maybe about 2 years. It's really not a factor. You may want to talk to a mortgage broker or a real estate agent about that, and those people who help you get mortgages, because they could probably find a lender that'll help, because that just depends on the lender. But most times, on average, after 2 years, buying a house is not a factor after filing bankruptcy.
Got it. We got a bunch of questions over here. So it says, are student loans included in the bankruptcy if someone has them?
Okay, so you can list your student loans in the bankruptcy, but they are not going to be discharged. You have to have an undue hardship in order to qualify for a discharge, and you have to prove that. And that's a separate lawsuit within the bankruptcy, and it's going to cost you more money to get that done. So that's typically not something that's done. But say, for instance, you are out of forbearance or out of deferment, and you are not able to make those payments, or even the student loan person is garnishing you, you can file bankruptcy in order to help with that. It will put you in forbearance. They won't collect on those. They won't be able to garnish you while you're in bankruptcy. So that'll give you time to be able to organize that as well. Like I said, bankruptcy is like an organization or reorganization. It gives you time to get on your feet. It gives you time to bounce back, and that's what you have to use it for, not to just avoid paying somebody, but you have to have a plan when you file bankruptcy.
Now, how much is bankruptcy? Is bankruptcy very costly? I know we're talking about like how much is bankruptcy?
Well, as far as attorney fees, it varies between attorneys. So I don't want to quote an attorney fee, but as far as the filing fee for Chapter 7, the filing fee is $335. For Chapter 13, the filing fee is $310. And like I said, as far as attorney's fees, it could be anywhere from, and I don't know, $750 to $2,500, depending on the attorney's fee and depending on the attorney for Chapter 7, and it could be upwards to $3,800 in Chapter 13. So you would just have to check with that attorney because I can't quote anybody else's prices.
Exactly. So the filing fee, he said, for Chapter 13 is $310, and the filing fee for Chapter 7 is $335. And again, you know, the attorney fees, it varies. So again, you just make sure if you're chiming in from another state, just check with your attorney to see what those fees are because they vary. All right, so I got another question. What we talked about that. What if you have an eviction from 2011? Is it still valid? I guess I'm not. Okay, so what if you have an eviction from 2011? Is that still valid?
I think you'll need to kind of clarify that. Are you meaning you have a judgment showing, like you went to court, got evicted, and it's still showing that you owe $2,000 for the back rent? Or do you mean that you can still be put out?
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll make sure we come back to that one. Jamal, what's happening? He said, what's up? That's Damon. That's DG. Hey, y'all. So I hope this video really, truly helped y'all. Again, like I told you, it says, why do credit card offers come so fast after it's discharged? It's usually the very reason most people had to file. So why is it that now that you file bankruptcy, now you're getting all these credit card offers from different companies, you know, saying, hey, we want you to have our credit card?
Well, I'm not sure their motivation behind it, but at the same time, they know that you probably want to start rebuilding because you have to rebuild after filing bankruptcy because it wipes out pretty much bad credit and you want to start building good credit. And so you do want to open, you know, maybe one credit card, and I always advise my clients probably get a secured credit card that reports to the bureaus, put about $300-400 on there, only utilize 30% of that card, pay the balance off immediately, and that way you're starting to get credit history over and over again. If you get a new car, they'll start reporting, and eventually get a house, and those things will help rebuild your credit, and you will appear to be credit worthy.
Credit worthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's up. So it says, can you add court fines to a Chapter 13? So if you lose your license or something and you have court fines or whatnot associated, can they put that in Chapter 13?
You can. They won't be discharged, but they'll be set up on a payment plan. And so that's helpful if you lose your license for whatever reason or another because you have fines. It'll show that you're making an effort. Same thing with child support, believe it or not. If you're behind on child support, you can put your arrearages in Chapter 13 as well. It's not going to discharge you.
Yeah.
But it'll help you manage it a little better.
Now, they've asked me, hey, Lavera, do you have clients with bankruptcies? Now, as far as like bankruptcies, if you're in an active bankruptcy status, then again, that's the only way I cannot assist. In those cases, I will direct you to my bankruptcy attorney, and that is Jamal. But directly after you have gotten your discharge, your bankruptcy either dismissed or discharged, that's where we come in to help you rebuild that thing. Because yes, you may have some things that you did not put on your bankruptcy that you need to have removed or that came later. I'm not sure how that goes. Like, is there a time where after they file bankruptcy or when they're in active bankruptcy, new things come and it'll hit the credit report where it's not included in bankruptcy?
New debts?
Yeah, like
you can only include pre-filing debts in the bankruptcy, so you can't go and rack up $5,000 worth of credit card bills and think you're gonna get the discharge if you've already filed.
You heard what he said, y'all.
And as well, and I think Ms. Davis said she has a judgment on her credit report, so you can use a bankruptcy to get that discharge because it would be an unsecured debt. You're not trying to stay in the house anymore, so you can use bankruptcy to get that discharge.
Well, I think that's it. Does anybody else have any more questions? I think we touched some of everything. Judgments on the credit report, I think he just covered that. We just
Okay, good.
Yeah, so if it's just a judgment, you can use bankruptcy to get that discharge. And if you have any more questions, because it sounds like we wrapping up.
Yep, we sound like we wrapping up. But I just want to say thank you, Jamal, just for coming on here. Again, like I told you, as we get information, as I connect with people who are just as passionate as helping people as I am, I'm going to bring the information just because, like I told you, I care about y'all. And we want y'all to make better choices and know this information. This knowledge is power. Once you get this, no one tells us the do's and don'ts on the front end. Life kind of teaches us this stuff, but there are people who are dedicating their time and their efforts to educating you. So be sure you're taking on this information and that you're using it and you pass it on, whether it's to your children, to anybody that you know. But help a sister out. Or help a brother out when they're going through things that you have at least heard some information or written some notes about it.
How can we contact Jamal and where's he practice?
Okay, so you can contact me by phone, 901-295-4529. You can reach me on the web, calljamal.com. Really doesn't matter how you spell it, it's going to get to me anyway. I'm on Facebook, I think I'm tagged, or at least a link to this live, but it's wlawassociates.com.
Okay.
W Law Associates. I practice in Tennessee, Arkansas, and Mississippi. So if you know anybody in those 3 states, send them my way. Call jamal.com, jwalker@wlawassociates.com.
So he provided his phone number, and again, we'll make sure we tag it here. And then also you can email him at jamalwalker.com. And he's on social media, y'all. So if you have any questions after this video, or just shoot him an email, and I'll include his information just so you can have access to it. But get your questions answered. Don't be out here just doing, things and not really knowing how it affects your life. It's important that you do this stuff and that you know the proper steps in doing it, and just not just going and doing it and just not have knowledge. There's so much resources and information and people that are willing to give you the answer to things. So just make sure that you reach out. Any questions that we missed?
Can you file bankruptcy and still keep your house?
It depends on if you do a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13. It depends on if you have equity or if you don't. If you are facing foreclosure and you want to keep your house, you can file a Chapter 13 in order to keep your house. If you have equity in your home, if it's paid for and you want to file bankruptcy, it's probably best that you file a 13 and you keep your home. In that case, you only have $5,000 worth of exemptions for a single person to protect the equity in your home, $25,000 in exemptions, and that's the court exclude that amount of your equity. So $25,000 worth of exemption if you have minor children, and it's a different amount if you're 62. And I'm not sure if it's any 62 or older is on here, but if so, inbox me and I can give you the answer to that amount.
Yep. All right, well, we're ending this live. Again, thank you all for tuning. If you're watching the replay, definitely share this video. And if you can hear us, you comment below by saying, let's go. So I'm hoping that if this helped you, let us know, because we're going to have more professionals. As I run into things, as I run into different professionals that are able to help me, my following, and all of us better understand this stuff, I'm going to deliver that stuff to you. So I'm going to end this thing, and if you got any questions, just feel free to reach out. All right, peace and love.
And thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Office, you have a nice new location, so anybody looking to get their credit repaired, please talk to Miss Coleman.
Get your credit fixed. I'm the credit lady, the credit expert. That's what I do. If I don't know how to do nothing else, now I can't spell that good, but guess what? I can move the credit score, and I know numbers, so definitely call your girl. All right, y'all, I'm ending this thing. Bye.